Yes, greetings once again. This is I, Jaboni, the badass man from Buzzwhack, putting it down. And today, I have just finished part two of From the Cross to the Throne. And I'm now gonna do part three. And for those of you that do not know, in August 2019, Mortimer Planner, Elder Rasta Stateman, held a conference at the UWI, closing off that millennium. And after that conference, the conference material was given to I as a work material in my ambassador role with clear instruction as to where we go in this time with a new faculty of thinking. The purpose of releasing these release now is for those of you who still desire in the aim and objective and goals of the Rastafari nation can now see where we are now and what we now need as a new faculty of thinking in going forward. So here we go again with part three. One minute.
Achieved through the philosophy of the music. This is once more folk philosophy. Marcus Garvey's 112th birthday is on the 17th tomorrow. The contribution that folk philosophy will present to that is the continuation of the standing exhibition that we have. We have what we call...
Yes. As I have said earlier, this is the last conference that convey up at the UWIA, and just want to make the proper introduction. That was Jelani just now that start off on the program just now. When I last checked, it was Rastekula, but it's Jelani that we start off, so
achieved through the philosophy of the music.
Here we go.
This is once more folk philosophy. Marcus Garvey's 112th birthday is on the 17th tomorrow. The contribution that folk philosophy will present to that is the continuation of the standing exhibition that we have. We have what we call an interactive show so that you can understand the nature of philosophy as it is visually shown. The herb is locked away under glass and key, and that is something that is still very much a contentious issue, whether economically or spiritually. The pieces, the exhibition pieces, are the best that we could do given the resources that we have to present thought that would criticize and stimulate the irids, for one to look at the facts from a different perspective. We are in the new millennium thought, and our chairman is none other than Tekla Medfet. He is well known as an intellect and a scholar, and has always shown very strong and dedicated attitudes towards anything which is uplifting for Africans anywhere. We know him through education, we know him through his writings in the media, we know him through his interaction on the electronic media as well. And we're honored that he accepted our invitation to be the chairman this evening, to lead us into a critical thought of Rastafari in the new millennium. Please welcome Tekla Medved.
Greetings. I don't acknowledge anything that he said. It is simply Rastafari. I come here as a soldier of His Imperial Majesty. I come with the bias of seeking to promote righteousness. I come with the bias of seeking to promote oneness. And before we go any further, I should like to acknowledge the invisible being acknowledged by the visible, seeking the strength and power of the Almighty. I should like to acknowledge the faith of those who know the oneness of Jah. I should like to acknowledge the faith of His Imperial Majesty in an expression of the past in the now, which is what we know in this gathering here this afternoon. Because no one is here by coincidence. And if you want to get the best out of being here, and I'm assuming that we are here because there is some common food that we seek. There is some common food that we seek to share. And if we are seeking this, we know that the past is now. We know that we can have faith in the Almighty, and that He will redeem us even as He redeemed His people, even as that story is written in the Bible, the book, which is our story. And Rastafari is not a sect, it is not a movement, it is not an organization, it is a fulfillment of prophecy in this time. For the whole story is written in the Bible. Therefore, whatever oppression, whatever we go through from Genesis to the falling away, to the calling for kings, and for the battle of all pretenders to being king, when Jah had said, "You have me for a king, why do you want to be like the pagans?" And that story right through to the battles which Jah won for his people, to the praise which David gave in the psalm, and the hope and the fullness of Jesus Christus, coming forward in the New Testament in the fullness of His Imperial Majesty, Haile Selassie, Jah Rastafari. And that story in the New Testament, for all the grief of Genesis and Exodus, first there was the spiritual beating in Genesis, then there was the physical beating in Exodus, which came as a result of the earlier yielding. And so we move forward to Revelation. And in spite of all the difficulties we have in this time as Rastafari, because men despise those who seek truth, men despise those who seek to do good, men despise those who speak of righteousness. For we are of the land of the beginning, Ethiopia. It has been proven, not even by our words, but Western scholars have indicated quite clearly where it all began. And Africa is the mother of us all, which is no surprise why the reggae music is being accepted, because it hits a beat all over the world, because Africa is the collective unconsciousness of all mankind, the mother of us all. And as we get to Revelation, we know that, the pain, but there is the victory of Revelation. And there was the corruption of Rome of the way of Jesus Christus. At Antioch, when the intellectuals first said, "Come forward, tell us of this new doctrine," yes, I, Rastafari, confess to be one who carry the message which they call a heresy. I defend and look to my father, to my ancestors, See Acts 24, verse 4. Yes, we are the people. And so we acknowledge His Majesty, acknowledging faith, as we ask Rasta Silva, Chairman of the Rastafari Centralization Organization, to lead us in the national anthem of the land of all peoples, Ethiopia.
Greetings, Arpit. May you all stand, please. We haven't got a copy of this. May I ask someone to pass over this few copy for us so that we can sing together? Arpit.
Ethiopia, the land of our father.
Arpit. That's the story? Please come on the house, please, for us. Yes, we'll all chant the Ethiopian national anthem together as Africans, chanting in one harmony and one love. Arpit. Let us start. Ethiopia, the land of our father, the land where our joy love to be. As the swift-toothed eyes sudden gather, our children are gathered to thee. Ethiopia, the land of our father, where our God love to be. As the cloud will earthly gather, high rain to thee. Look at the sound. With our red, gold, and green float in the world. With the red, gold, and green floating over. A dark and the future before, shall we hear and we shout and we yearn. Jah bless our nigger side, who keep Ethiopia free to advance with youth and right, to advance with love and life, we righteously, and I give you I'm a living wonder. Second verse. Eternal, O God of our ages. Oh, eternal, O God of our ages. Grant unto a son that lives. And I will find a living through the ages, when that man was sore in need. Thy voice to the dim part of the program. Thy voice to the broken Ethiopia, a great Putteran. And my vision has been broken, and I am blessed for dear motherland. Chorus. As on the sky, who keep I Ethiopia free to advance, with truth and right, to advance, with love and light, with righteousness freely. I and I is to, I and I shall, and I king. Money takes place in one shall fire. Last verse, it's over the tyrants are falling. Ethiopia, the tyrants are falling. Who smote thee upon thy knee? And thy children are lost still in Charlie from over the distant sea. Rastafari, the great fund of earth and I had noted our sighs and our tears. With the iris of love, he has restored I and I to be one all the turning here. God bless our need, God save us I, who keep Ethiopia free to advance, with truth and right, to advance, with love and light, with righteousness living, and I is to, I and I king, I'm a native in one Jah, one We ask to stand still while we ask the high priest to lead us in devotion. One more time.
This is bongo time now, coming as the priest.
Here
we go. Selassie.
Let us set our hearts and minds together and give thanks and praise unto the Most High with one love. Here Princes and princesses must come out of Egypt. Ethiopia now stretch forth her hands unto Jah. O I, Jah of Ethiopia, I have vine worship. Everyone stretch out their hand. I is coming to our hearts to dwell in the paths of righteousness to lead us. Help I and I to forgive, that I and I must be forgiven. Teach I and I love, loyalty, and hurt, as it is in Mount Zion. Adjure us with thy wise mind, knowledge, and understanding to do thy will. I and I blessing to I, Jah, let the hungry be fed, the naked be clothed, the sick be nourished, the aged be protected, and the infants being cared for. I liberate and I from the hands of our enemies, that I and I must prove fruitful for these first days. When our enemies are past and decay, in the depths of the sea, in the depths of the earth, or in the belly of a beast, O give I and I a place in thy living King man, through the eye of the kings and the lords of lords, conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah, electing himself and the light of this world. And I have vine, majesty, I Selassie, I first Ashen King of Iration, I art Alpha, and I Mecum, the beginning without end, the first and forever, the architectories of all I man's feet, and ruler of the universe. Eli, Selassie, Eli, Eli, blessed and I, sanctify and I, cause thy holy divine countenance ever to shine upon thine eye, and give I grace from thy holy sanctuary to thy divine power. Eli, perfect love and harmony amongst our brethren and sisters, and let us use our wise mind within this reason through the divine power of the Most High. Eli, perfect love.
Here come Rastekla now. Again.
One Jah for us all. It is the only hope for us in a world of confusion that we know the oneness. Africa is the mother of us all. Yes, give thanks. One God for us all. It's the only hope for us in a world of total confusion. And it's the food we need, and it's the food we're seeking. This is not just a forum. It's serious business. We're seeking food to survive in a world of confusion. I should like to ask you to share, as I ask, that the words that I utter may be the words that Jah the Almighty, our Father, whose presence is real, would have I to utter, because I cannot but acknowledge the presence of Jah Almighty then and now and right here amongst us. And may he move and have his purpose, his fulfillment in each and every one of us, because such is his magnificence, that he is mother and father to us all in any moment, anywhere, anytime, any place in the world. And I give thanks to know this truth. Rastafari, the fullness of a oneness. I commend Brother Kumi and his team, Jalani, and all the others who have made this discussion for us to focus on Jah possible. This discussion to focus on a way out of confusion, in a way out of alienation, to make this possible. Reggae music, mental slavery, globalization, repatriation. I shall be giving a sort of overview. I shall link the main points of that theme in the fullness of the prophecy of Rastafari, in the fullness of the reality of the confusion today. And then during the panel discussion, and you'll notice we started half hour after than the time we said, so we take time from that point. And Dr. Carolyn Cooper will sort of branch out from mental slavery ideas, themes in the lyrics of reggae music. Yes. Dr. Hutton will deal with the situation of Rastafari, defining education anew. And when he says education, he's not simply talking about school. I think he's talking about the whole socialization process, as they say at the university. And then Ras Junior Manning will, from the very personal experience, have a look at ourselves. What's right, what's wrong, where we need to go for the new millennium. And Mutabaruka is of the thinking that there needs to be a reconstruct, that there are ways that may be perhaps a bit old-fashioned and need to be redefined for the realities of today. So that's it basically. Okay, so reggae music, mental slavery, globalization, repatriation. I would like to put my offering in the backdrop of Jamaica now. I would like to share with you something I offered through as a means of a letter to the press, but which hasn't been published. I should like to share the thoughts with you and invite you to ask yourself the questions that I pose as I contemplate what we have to say in the backdrop of Jamaica now. Because when we look at that, we will see that some of what we're saying amounts to being the answer to some of the confusion. So, here is what I invite people to share. As Rastafari reflects in this time of emancipation, independence, and coming celebration of Heroes' Day, Jamaica reminds me of a piece of prose poetry on a painting by Osmond Watson, Boy in a Landscape. In 1977 it was written. It was a reflection of that time, and I dare say it's a reflection of now. Quote, "The story is one of alienation, human souls lost in confusion of human crossings and cuttings, shadows, blood splash, incestuous silences, tense thickets. Blood splash is now her head. Unusual coming usual, self in a swamp." What of the journey of migration from self? Because that is what slavery is all about, migration from self. So then, what of the journey of migration from self? Slavery that has brought us to this bloody, stinking swamp, which is Jamaica today. There was migration of self, being captured by another tribe, barbarian, strangers. The word barbarians I discovered as a youth meant strangers, any foreigner. So we first had the experience of being captured by another tribe, which was like being captured by barbarians. This was a migration from self. This was a form of slavery in Africa. Then more migration, sold by a barbarian tribe to a white barbarian tribe as slaves to New World. And what of the false definitions of freedom or migration to self? If slavery is a migration from self, then freedom ought to be a migration to self. And what of the false definitions of freedom or migration to self, which are emancipation, universal adult suffrage, and independence? Has migration of self for social class and status symbols been freeing? There has been a constant search for better self, migrating to Cuba, Panama, Costa Rica, Britain, America, Canada, and a lot more people I hear are leaving today. Problem. For social control and migration to self for production, peace, and progress, where is the oneness in central values of common concept of self and community to be found? Where is the oneness in central values of common concepts of self and community to be found? Rastafari asks. For we need to get out of this swamp of violence, corruption, instability, and ill-defined identity, which is Jamaica today. It's against that backdrop that I proceed into looking at the fullness of reggae music, mental slavery, globalization, repatriation. It's Marcus Garvey time, you know, and Marcus Garvey is a messenger. We are all Jah tools in one way or another. And we are more effective tools and vessels if we recognize the fact that the Commander-in-Chief, the High Priest himself, the King of Salem, the Most High, Jah Almighty, the Commander-in-Chief, is moving his troops, as he will, in the certain victory of good over evil. The messenger doesn't always know the fullness of the message he carries or how he relates to other messengers. The postman need not know the fullness of the message he carries or what that message means to different people. We are all tools of the Most High. But as I read Marcus Garvey, I kept saying to myself, where is the religion in Garvey? And lo and behold, through the goodness of Tony Martin and our own Beverly Hamilton, I became more familiar with some of the cultural undertakings of Marcus Garvey. And that book of poetry which Tony Martin put out, I recommend, because you begin to see a philosophy of Marcus Garvey coming out in another form, and I recommend it highly. And I was also very privileged and very happy to see a copy of Negro Digest in 1929. Negro World, beg your pardon, the words of Marcus Garvey. If the Negro, African, thinks properly, he will realize that on him falls a serious responsibility and duty to salvage the bankrupt civilization of white Europe, the West. This may sound ambitious, but after all, the Negro isn't here for fun. He hasn't survived centuries of hardships and difficulties just to die again. These are the words of Marcus Garvey, 1929, and please note the role of righteousness. To establish something more, we are not here just to die again, but to establish something more like the basis on which humanity should live, than on which it should fight to die. In the new civilization of the African, his will must be in keeping with all that is righteous and good, because it is only righteousness in nature that prevails and continues. The fullness of the message of Marcus Garvey is in the expression of the truth of Rastafari. A culture of righteousness. One God, Jah, since we know his name, call him Jah. One Jah for us all. For indeed, Ethiopia, Africa, is the mother of all peoples. Black, white, Indian, Chinese, any name you choose to use for people, Africa is the mother of us all, and one king for us all. Okay. I'm going to make, Jalani, beg you, a little water. Okay. Thank you. I'm going to make 3 blanket statements. I state them as facts. I want to see music not as entertainment, but an embodiment of ideas of culture influencing social organization. Music is not entertainment. It is an embodiment of ideas of culture influencing social organization. Next umbrella statement. Rastafari, a universal concept rising again in the new world, carried by people of African descent out of Jamaica. Reggae music, another umbrella statement of rhythm, heartbeat, interplay, drum and bass, of truth and justice, of righteousness. Music or word sound power of the King. reggae in the Latin. And I never liked Latin at school, but on occasions like this, I'm glad I did it. Reggae of the King. So it's no coincidence, it's the music of the King. And it's no coincidence that the first record which came to the attention of the folks in Britain was, and there was an interesting comment in the British Times, that these people from Jamaica give thanks for talking something a little more than about girl and boy. They're talking about animals. They're talking about a lion. As Desmond Wilson's tune, The Lion of Judah, came to their attention. And there again, right at the beginning, what came to the attention was of the King. It's the music of the King. Give thanks. Give thanks. So we have that music is an embodiment of ideas of culture, influencing social organization, Rastafari, reggae music, music or word sound power of the King. I want to take you on a little journey, and I'm going to tell you beforehand the points at which we shall stop before I develop the features of each point. I want to have us have a look at a game that's being played. Imitation, seeking, defining, becoming the real. A game being played. Imitation, seeking, defining, becoming the real. Another important point I want to take you to a world out of rhythm. And I want to point to your attention that rhythm as natural ingredient of being African, an expression of a concept of life. That is rhythm for social organization in tune with physical environment. I want to take you to a third point. I want to take you to reggae, heartbeat for globalization. And I want to tell you that fourth point in our journey at which we shall come to a conclusion and hope you have digested good food so that we can belch and rejoice. I want to take you to repatriation, returning to original rhythm, that is the ways of Father. Okay, let's talk about this game that's being played. This imitation, seeking, defining, becoming the real. There's a game being played when we talk about, we have music portrayed as entertainment. We're a people of an oral culture. Music is a natural expression of our way. Rhythm is natural. We speak of rhythm not in terms only of what the West knows as music, but we speak of rhythm in the way also that the West speak of ecology. Meaning to say that all creation of the Creator are related to each other in a balance, and that I, Rastafari, represent this new truth coming forward in this time out of Babylon. It had to come of I, because it is a memory of old, of the past. It is a memory which precedes tribe. Therefore, you will hear sounds and music and rhythms in the new world, which to the brothers at home in Africa are lost. And we in Babylon will take it forward as we bring of the original, the rhythm of oneness. The call and response is a natural expression of community. The audience participation in Africans having music, and I'm not saying playing music, Africans in music, dancing, seeking a rhythm itinerally. It is not entertainment. The circular movements of the pelvis, which white people have looked at and called sexy, and they have completely confused the brains of niggers who call themselves blacks, who are confused because if they knew of themselves as Africans, then they would define themselves for themselves. And they would know that it's not about being sexy, but the circular movement of the pelvis is about eternity, the circle, about a celebration of fertility, and not how other people have defined us. And if we knew ourselves, we would not respond to the word black, because black has as a reference always white. It is a word used by foreigners to describe us. We are Ethiopians, Africans. And until we get to that point, we shall be blinding ourselves to important solutions to pressing problems which exist today. So we cannot see music just as entertainment. We have to see the values, the ideas of society and social organization which exist in the music. Then, another feature of a game being played. They say to us, come and tell us of this new doctrine. Intellectuals or academics embracing to control. In Antioch, the intellectuals, the followers of Aristotle, said to those who carry the ways of truth of Jesus Christus, patronizingly, come and tell us. Tell us of this new doctrine. To embrace. And in academic circles, when you are embraced and one culture becomes rubbed up with another, they talk about syncretization. And if there is time, and if someone reminds me, I will tell you how in Kings they describe this phenomena, syncretization, this phenomena which people like to express in academic circles. So here it is. Come and tell us of this new doctrine. Listen to this. Do you recognize this description? Acts 24:5. A pestilent fellow and a mover of sedition, a ringleader of the sect of the Nazarenes. Does it sound like how people speak about Rastafari? Pestilent fellow, all these people going around. One of the complaints I see in the records when I look at early in the 1930s, 40s, people were complaining that people were the Rastafarians. They didn't say Rastafarians so much then. They were saying, you know, fire for this, fire for that, and Jezebel, Jezebel. And people quite feared this. And so this, a pestilent fellow. Then listen to Acts 24:14, and these are my words too. I confess unto thee that after the way which they call heresy, so worship I the God, Jah, of my fathers, which is to say, I, which they call a cult, a sect, a heresy, I, which they call a subculture, yes, I do confess to worshiping the God, Jah, of our ancestors in the fullness of his imperial majesty, Haile Selassie, Jah, almighty King of kings, which it is most natural that he should rise in the first land, because the king of the first land of the Garden of Eden would have to be Jah. And so in the fullness of time, the true King of Kings would naturally rise again in the Garden of Eden, the King of Kings, his imperial majesty. Come and tell us. If we know this great truth, why is this need to be patronized? Why is it I hear people phoning about the university? It was good that the university undertook that research in 1960, when Manley was frightened by Henry. In the fullness of what was happening in Cuba, Manley was frightened. It was good that he thought, let us get rid of them. Anything to rid the society, and if you read the newspapers of the time, you will see that. Anything to rid the society of these pestilent fellows. And so they had the talks, and it was good that the university was involved, because indeed I think it was the first expression that the new university had of social usefulness, of relating to the society. So it did them good. Rastafari helped give the university legitimacy. So then, why are we phoning to the university if we are carriers of this great truth? I give thanks that they've appointed a fellow in the fullness of Brother Planner. But let it be clearly understood that the university is doing Rastafari no favors. The university is recognizing a worldwide trend, a worldwide interest, and Rastafari is the center of it, even as they seek to de-Rastafari Bob Marley for the fullness of the purpose of the tourist board. So Rastafari, the university, is doing what it should have done long ago, because people all over the world want to know of this truth. So the university can get grants to put themselves in a position to market. So let us not fawn over the university. Our father, the grand teacher of Jerusalem schoolroom, he is our father, he is our teacher. We need no intellectuals, we need no academics, but we will share because they are our people, whatever name they may be given. So then, look again at a game being played. Ritual Ethiopian greeting, bowing, blessed, blessed, blessed. It's becoming a bit of a parody, as meaningless expression of knowing coming fashion. It is not the sacred mutual acknowledgement of respect and fear for shared ancestor. We must be careful how we are trivialized. We must be very careful how we are trivialized. Yes? Don't be taken by applause. Be careful how they clap you. And I mean, I have two meanings on clap. Clap you into acquiescence with their praise. Be very careful. Rasta are no victim. We are the carriers of a great truth, a responsibility to the universe on behalf of our Father in a world of shared confusion. What is happening in Jamaica, as I described earlier, is happening all over the world. And the youths are oppressing the elders, and the elders have abdicated. And there is no confusion. What do they believe in? On what foundation do they stand? It is all for today. That is shifting sand. We have to have a foundation in the past. Rastafari's reality is all about social organization. You see, it's the fullness of the expression of Africa. Then look again at a game being played. The use of the reggae rhythm, the beat, for message other than original international identity of reggae with truth, justice, righteousness. Yes? Note that. The use of reggae rhythm. I have clippings. I have a lot of the people who are now using the reggae rhythms, a lot of the church people. It's amazing, you know, you listen to the church people, and they most of all, because those who are closer to Africa, quite often they're the ones who want to deny the existence of Africa in themselves. And you see the church people who are clapping in syncopation, the way they clap at church, the natural way. Europeans don't clap like that. Syncopation, where the heavy note draws attention to the light note which went before. The present draws attention to the past. Because the present is an expression of principles of the past going forward. And there it is in the music. And these people are clapping in this fashion. They hate Africa, the association with Africa. Their children are bleaching themselves, etc., etc. So desperate are they for the status. So bad they think of themselves. And they believe, you know, like the Obi, the little symbols. Just like you had these little symbols which were supposed to have power amongst the tribes. Because remember, you know, Rastafari represent Africa before the different tribes. Rastafari represents the fullness of Wanja, one great ancestor for all tribes. So we precede the tribes. Yes? So there is this fullness of the oneness. And these people, they are frightened, yet they are coming forward. And David Keane, I remember a clipping from David Keane talking about of this wicked devil beat. And I'm going to push it in his face one of these days. And they're all using it now. But as a strategy of war, if you want to get at those you consider the enemy, then you begin to dress up yourself like the enemy. And because of the unease with Rastafari, because they are afraid, as Manley was afraid of Rastafari taking over the place. Let me tell you, Manley, in a private conversation with a Barbadian called George Hunt, a white Barbadian, in the 60s, and George Hunt wrote a column on it in the Barbados Advocate, Manley told George Hunt in 1960 that Rastafari didn't exist 30 years ago, and it will not exist 30 years hence. He may have added as a result of this strategy. You can't stop what have to be. You cut it off, son, it grow again. I see my father cut a tree and it grew again. Yes, sir, that's the fullness of the truth. Let us move forward. Then let us look at the game being played again. The perverse blindness and benefits to benefits of herbs. I speak of the holy herbs, yes, but I embrace all herbs. Herbs, the healing of the nation. Herbs, medicine. Yes? The perverse blindness and deafness to benefits of herbs because of link with Rastafari. Beg pardon. Until white people open black people's eyes, claiming what Rasta had been saying long ago. You get that? There is this perverse blindness with the benefits of herbs and other things because of link with Rastafari. And these niggers, these black people who don't know themselves as Africans, won't see until white people open black people's eyes, claiming what Rasta had been saying long ago. And now what will happen? Babylon will seek to pervert identity and claim us creation of Babylon. So now we have hemp beer. And the friend of somebody high up will get the contract for these things. And anytime they decide to legalize, which is after America has arranged that you have killed your quality,
Okay.
the niggers will be far behind again because they do not know themselves. You have to wait for somebody to tell you what is good for you. We are people who believe in status symbols because we see ourselves in black people needing to become something else to be somebody. The students come to school. They think because they put on a uniform, because they go to a school which is supposed to be a good school, that some little obia will make them pass the exam because they have put on the magic of the uniform, the magic of sitting in a class. And then the further madness of the Ministry of Education in granting certificates. If they were looking at how people were performing, a doctor is not a doctor if he doesn't heal. A dog is not a dog if it behaves like something else. If a man behaves like a dog, he is a dog. We tell ourselves lies. We won't look and see how is it function. We are so starved for status. The magic in the guard ring, in the apartment on the North Coast, in the BMW, in being at this club or being in the social column. The world and his wife. Black people claiming their democratic right to be white. Give thanks for democracy. Confusion, why then this imitation? If Rastafari is the real, the original being imitated time and again, being genetically modified for the market and money, why not just accept the natural and the real? Why seek to genetically modify? Well, it's not a new story. It is the nature of the devil to seek to genetically modify the Creator's creation. It is the nature of the devil to seek to genetically modify the Creator's creation and claim as his or her creation for money and fame. Liar telling? Check it out. Check it out. Especially you as Rastafari say something, they don't hear you. And just go behind your back and try and do a version of what you say. This information is too good for you. Is liar telling? And then we are caught in the other foolishness. Not too good for black people. So therefore you follow every foolishness the white people dash in front of you. We are the first people. We are to lead the way. So then, they want to claim as their creation for money and fame, rather than seek to preserve life in rhythm of righteousness. Because that is what Rastafari is about, to preserve life in rhythm of righteousness. I want to move quickly. There's a world out of rhythm. Observe social, health, and environmental problems worldwide. And as you observe this, I want you to note this, that for the African, rhythm is a natural ingredient of being African. It's an expression of a concept of life for social organization in tune with physical environment. You got that? So when the world is out of rhythm, the African has a natural advantage to lead the way out because he's a child of rhythm. Being African means we understand not just the movement of our bodies, but the movement in relationship to all other creatures of creation, to the environment, to each other. Rhythm is an important concept of life with which the African is blessed. So let us stop following these people as they make new apologies for their mistakes and side effects. Let us lead the way and know that, as Marcus Garvey would have said, within us is the solution. Let it come forward. We must first see ourselves as Africans, otherwise we'll be blinding ourselves to solutions to pressing problems. So then, of course, we have the mental slavery of the West, playing the game, using melody to manipulate or dress up rhythm, ecology. Melody is a feature of European music, even as rhythm is a feature of African music. And so it is, they seek to change up themselves and the environment with melody, rather than seeking to keep rhythm. And what is the result of this? You lose social control in individual for the community and influencing environmental imbalance or ecological problems. It's a world that is out of rhythm. Then there's the mental slavery of people of African descent, denying self, imitating the West out of rhythm. We keep following them. So we keep following being out of rhythm. Then there's the mental slavery of people of African descent, ignoring African ideas, ignoring folk philosophy, folk of the people, philosophy, the way of the people, ignoring African ideas for relationship of individuals for community. We seem to prefer the spoiled ideas, Western ideas of individual and community, of society, ideas breeding oppressive social inequities, corruption and violence, and frightening alienation of self. There's a game being played. We need to return to the rhythm for social control. And there's an important role for Africa as the original people of rhythm. The third point I want to stop. I want you to notice reggae. It's a heartbeat for globalization. The heartbeat, universal. Everyone individual, tribe, nation. Everyone has the same heartbeat. It is a primordial sound, this music which rose of African people in the New World in a place called Jamaica. It is a heartbeat. It is a message being carried by people who foreigners describe as black, but who are Africans of Ethiopia. It is a music being carried for the whole world, even as Africa is the mother of the whole world. Please observe the relationship of drum and bass, because it's the same as head and heart. And the head for African peoples is the seat of the soul. The head and the heart, the drum and the bass, it's basic. We don't need any melody to mess it up. It's a basic principle of life being carried forward. It's a universal message for a world in need of truth and justice, in need of a community of righteousness, in the oneness of knowing one Father, for one rhythm of righteousness. The confusion in all the world. What is it when you're playing in a band and you lose your way? What is it that keeps you grounded? What is it that you must return to? The rhythm. The rhythm. A tool of social control. Understand that. Understand the important tool in the hands of the first people, who you are. For you are a descendant of the mother of us all, Africa. And finally, the theme is reggae music, mental slavery, globalization, repatriation. Again, I'm glad I did Latin. Repatriation, return to Father. Now understand this. Listen carefully. If your child pays attention to the neighbor's mother or father, they want to be like the neighbor's mother and father. Do you like that? You have children? Would you like that? Right? Would you like that? I mean, all the time you're you that's a big up the man next door. And this is his role model. All the while, this one is telling his mother how that woman next door is such a great one. Would you like that? Well, that is what we're doing to our Father. We're acknowledging other fathers. It is a terrible thing to do. We're acknowledging other mothers because of the way we behave. The way we behave. We're acknowledging other mothers and fathers that are not of ourselves. If you behave like a vampire, bloodsucker, you are a vampire. Dressed up like a human being. We know you by your actions. We know you by your performance. So we need to return to our Father. We need to return to the original rhythm, the ways of one Father. It is a return to the physical and mental landscape of a culture of righteousness. Are you with me? Repatriation. Time and again the Father says, if ye correct your ways, ye will reach to the promised land. There is a condition. It's a condition of righteousness, a culture of righteousness. It is not simply a physical repatriation, but it is a spiritual, a total, the fullness of being, a return to the ways of one Father. And this doesn't mean that we will not cope with modern technology, but how we approach the use of modern technology will be guided by the basic principles of the past which exist in our music, in our oral culture. If we stop deceiving ourselves, having other people defining ourselves, and seeing ourselves as entertainment. See the truth in the fullness of our oral culture. See the fullness in the truth of Rastafari. The packaging of Rastafari. I used to tell my students, I say, be very careful, as I taught them of marketing. I said they tell you about packaging. But be very careful, because of the packaging you see before you, you deny yourself of information necessary to pass the exam. Because I, Rastafari, because of my integrity before Jah, am well prepared. I take my work seriously. I don't come here to play games. I come here today as a soldier of Jah Almighty. I know His presence. And I'm afraid, because He will see me, because He will play back my words to me and say, Tekla, you hear what you say? Make sure you're doing it too. Let us know the fullness of that thinking as a form of social control. So when people are telling you that fear is the worst thing in the world, it is a foolishness. We must fear the Almighty to seek to live according to the rhythm of the beginning. Because it's about preserving life, not serving death. So then, repatriation, a return to the physical and mental landscape of a culture of righteousness. And so we have journeyed, pointing you to the game being played of defining to take over. We have shown you a world out of rhythm. We have shown you how Africans are specially prepared to lead the world out of this rhythm into a new rhythm of oneness, of righteousness. We have shown you that reggae music is particularly suited. It is no coincidence that it is a heartbeat. And the significance of drum and bass, and the significance of the fact that reggae music got its international attention and mystical dimension as carried by Rastafari. Rastafari gave that beat meaning. It is no coincidence that Rastafari speaks of repatriation. Let us return to the ways of our Father, the oneness in the ways of one Jah for us all. It's in the rhythm. Rastafari, give thanks and praise.
Yes, that was Rastekla, soldier of the Almighty. And he don't need no perspective. I think he's very clear, and I'm not here to offer any perspective. And my brethren, they are fellow soldiers in the struggle. I am here as ambassador to make these sounds be available for the new faculty. In my previous broadcasts, I am looking at some of the comments while I try not to pay too much attention to the comments. Some of the comments I will respond to. For example, a person by the name of J, which is an initial, I don't particularly care anything about J, because that's an alphabet. I don't know if J is a brother or a sister. But J said the struggle really does have a wider scope. Now, I also do not know what to take from that. So, Jay, this is what I will do for you. My number is 07851 984 675. Again, Jay. My number is 07851 984 675. And what I would ask you to do, Jay, if you is a part of this nation, because we not take no prisoner, you know. If a friend you look, I tell you already, we not look a friend. But if you have something to say in terms of widen the scope and you're a part of this nation, feel free to send me now a voice message properly identifying yourself so we can hear and feel your vibes. And make the scope wise now. No, come tell me. Me not work for you. Give a fuck about no scope. I tell you that now. So me no want you go on like me and you go to same school, me and your friend and me there. I try look friend from you. If you have a scope where you want to put to the scope, then send it in. And that me I try to tell you, say, me no want to come and deal with me like me and a friend. Or me and you work together. Me nah look no work togetherness. Me nah look no unity. This is not a unity call. This is the freedom move. Yeah. So if you're on a freedom trad and you want to come trad with I, then put in your work. Now come tell me for widen the scope. The scope can't get no wider than what it is right now. The scope is well codified. Yeah, it is well codified. And if you identify with the scope, then put in your work. So now you have the connection. You know, if I give me no direction. Because me no there good, no direction. May I tell you, my story, my involvement, and the work with the elder that give me. For do, I do my work, you know. Me I present the scope. And if you can widen the scope, or you can deal with the scope, or you can address the scope, or you can make the scope more far-reaching, then we give thanks. But if you don't have nothing to add to the scope, then you're going to ask if you watch the ride. Watch the ride. So that was Rastekula. And there's something that Rastekula point out. It stand up in my ears. And I will make that be the banner. Rastekula say a lot of things. A lot of things him say. But the most important thing that stand up in our eye memory from what Rastekula said just now is that Norman Manley was scared to death of the works of Claudius Henry. The first fact-finding mission to find out which African country was ready to take us forward was prompted by Claudius Henry mission. Now, I'd like to add something to that too. The first fact-finding mission was sent out 1960, and up until today, we send out mission pam mission pam mission pam mission, and now we claims we the UN. No, still I argue the same point. Up until now, not one African country have addressed the simple issue that is we are more than ready to take forward our people. So, sister, the thing is like a circle we are going around. We're going as a 400 year with a circle we're going round and going round and Hence, a lot of people now just take up themselves, go Africa. When them go Africa, them realize like them jump out of the frying pan, jump in the fire. Cause fire there so to know. I keep telling you say, I'm say it. I come forward from Africa, I say it, and when I say it, I'm not stop say it. Africa not ready for I and I. Yeah. When Africa ready for I and I will be there. Yeah. All the African leaders have to say to its people, come home. And now, not one of them not said that. Every time them screech around the world coming forward to Africa, it's about tourists and tourism. Money making tourism business. So, can't fool me. And like I say, me not try fool no one neither of my reality. And all who are lean up on them own reality, salute.